Hey everyone, how's it going today? And welcome back to another video. So, new research has officially been conducted to announce that about 77% of our country has now officially experienced some kind of a housing market plunge. Or in simple terms, what this really means is that about 77% of the people in our country, or of the places in our country, have now experienced some kind of real estate drop in prices to some level. For some parts of our country, it's been a very drastic drop. In other parts of our country, it has been just a little bit of a drop, but nonetheless some kind of drop, which is now setting very historical numbers in let's just say many particular years. So the big idea is that in today's update, what I really just want to talk about is really just to revisit the housing market again. This video is definitely going to be relevant if you are someone that's interested in potentially buying a home in the future. It is also pretty much going to be relevant even if you happen to be a renter. So even if you're not necessarily looking to buy a house, if at the very least you happen to be a renter, which most people probably are, or if you're not, hopefully looking to become a renter or just looking for some kind of roof over the head, then this video is going to be relatively important because it's going to talk about where the housing prices in our country is going to be headed over the next couple of months, and hopefully this is going to shed a lot of insight about it. So as always, we are going to get started, but real fast, as always, if you guys enjoy videos like this, remember to smash the like button if you guys hopefully it's always greatly appreciated. Of course, you guys can decide. Consider subscribing and hitting the bell for similar videos, and of course, as always, feel free to comment any questions, personal thoughts, maybe about what the housing market is like currently in your particular location, because I can speak that being in New York City, which we will bring up what's been going on in housing in major cities in general, it is very particularly crazy, but thankfully things are now starting to settle a little bit, which is what we are going to explore in today's video. Stay tuned. So in one of the last updates, which I'm definitely going to put that video at the end screen, highly recommend checking that out if you guys haven't, because that's going to talk about how the housing market is doing in general, and today is going to be an even more updated version of that, so you can really watch it in any order, but they just cover different parts, and again, it'll be at the end screen. But in one of the last updates, we talked a little bit about how the fixed mortgage rate has now officially reached about 6.63%, which means that it's currently now going up, which makes sense. Now, the big idea about why this is particularly important is because as the interest rate starts to increase, it also means that less people are going to be tempted to buy a home, or specifically to take out a mortgage to buy their home, which makes sense, because if things are more expensive, more people are probably not going to try to take out a mortgage to buy a home anymore, because they know that prices are going to be going up. But why this is particularly important is that because by doing such a thing, it also means that it's able to control the housing prices better to keep costs low, or in this case even lower, because it's trying to drop the prices more than it already has. Estimates have really predicted that by the summer of next year, so summer of 2023, it is predicted that housing prices will drop by about another 10% even further than what it already has right now. And as just mentioned is that about 77% of our country has already experienced some kind of drop in their real estate, even if it's a little bit, for some of them a lot, for some of them a little bit. But the big idea is that whatever is going on right now in your particular location, in most parts of the country, it's expected that it's going to fall down even further by about 10% minimum at the very least. And this is very important and impactful, because as most of you guys know from just historical data in general, we've experienced a month after month, or certainly year after year, where the real estate prices have just skyrocketed up and gone up even higher, not keeping up with our current income levels and basically what most people are making. In other words, what it's really saying is that the cost of real estate is going up much faster than almost every single person's income is going up, and certainly how much it's been going up relative to the same position, even adjusted for inflation inflation. So this is particularly important, is that it's important to try to bring it down so that it's possible to become a lot more open, that more people can potentially now start to afford a home again, or certainly even consider trying to become a home buyer of some kind. So that's currently applying to now about 77% of this country, and it's expected to increase even more. So hopefully by the next update, we'll even see it reach over 80% or just something even greater. Of course, the goal, I think for a lot of people is to just make it so that now the entire country can have their real estate prices corrected so that it becomes a lot more affordable, a lot more open, and a lot more welcoming, so that more people can consider and look into this stuff. And again, while 10% might not sound like a lot for a lot of people, the big idea is that when you are dealing with prices in the $1 million range, and this is a very realistic number where I'm currently at, and again, feel free to comment what real estate is like in your particular location, but I'm currently in New York City. A 1-bedroom apartment can go for about $1 million. A 0-bedroom apartment, so a no-bedroom apartment, can sometimes go for about $800,000 for just a studio. So 10% of $1 million, we're talking about $100,000 minimum. On top of the discounts that we've already experienced, we could be talking about something in the 6-figure amount of money. So that is definitely a lot of money, and why it's very particularly important. And even beyond being a homeowner, it's also hoping to try to control rent prices as well, to bring those down. Because again, if less people are trying to live in a particular area because prices are so expensive, it also means not only are home prices going to go down, but hopefully rent prices will also go down as well with it, assuming that every other factor is being controlled and stays the same. Now, they did recently announce that where is this currently even happening specific, or what are some specific places where this is happening. The top 10 places that are currently experiencing the most drastic amount of real estate price drop currently at this time is going to be in Seattle, Las Vegas, San Jose, San Diego, so San Jose, California, San Diego, California, Sacramento, California, Denver, Colorado, Phoenix, Arizona, Oakland, North Point, Florida, Tacoma, Washington. And the big idea is that those are pretty much going to be the top 10 states, or the top 10 cities that are currently experiencing some kind of real estate market price drop, particularly drastically. Notice how all of these states, or all of these cities, one of the things they have in common is that the majority of them are all pretty much along the coast. Lots of California cities, there's obviously Phoenix, and the big idea really is because a lot of these cities happen to be the places where real estate also happens to be the most expensive initially in general. Interestingly, New York City and LA is not on this list, but I know that they're definitely, for a fact, as someone that's living in New York, is that we're also going through a massive correction as well. Now, maybe to just share some personal insights as someone that's currently living in New York City, is that this is obviously going to be relatively good or not so good news depending on who you are. If you happen to be a home seller and you're trying to sell your home for the absolute highest price, then with prices dropping, this is obviously not going to be particularly good news. But if you happen to be a buyer, then this is really, really great news, because this means that prices are expected to drop soon, which means that it's hopefully now going to become a lot more affordable. It's not just that it's going to become a lot more affordable, but the even greater significance to this is that it's also going to help our economy a lot, because it means that money can flow a lot better. Why do I say this is that really just because if real estate prices start to become so expensive, no, not if real estate starts to become, because real estate prices are already very, very particularly expensive. But the real significance about this is I can just speak on a very, very personal level. When I look outside and talk to a lot of people, especially in my particular generation, I grew up in the 90s, so you can kind of gauge what age, I was one of those kids that, students brought Game Boys to school, the Game Boy era. But the big idea really is that it means that many, many people in the younger generation, especially those that grow up in metro, high cost of living cities, they're not thinking about trying to buy a home anytime soon. They're not thinking about trying to, start a mortgage, certainly compared to the frequency of this back in, many of our parents, or just in the generations well before the 90s, 80s, 70s, or even our grandparents' generation. It was a lot more common. And so the goal by having all of this stuff happen and by controlling the housing prices, it's hoping to try to finally bring back an interest in allowing people to really be able to consider actually buying a home to live the American dream, and also so that it becomes a lot more inclusive and a lot more better for people that want to move to these high costs of living to now be able to better afford to survive and be able to do so. And I think that this is really the biggest significance to everything that's really happening about why this is important to all of us. And the great news is that for most of them at this current time period, it is actually very, very much expected that as we enter into 2023, things are going to now start to shift to become finally a buyer's market after many, many, many years of being a seller's market inside of the way that our real estate and everything that's been going on in our world is currently happening and going on in our world. But of course, all of this stuff, such as where are mortgage interest rates going to go, what are the housing prices going to look like, how much further are they going to drop, assuming that they are going to drop, what the market's going to be like in the future, all of this stuff we really just have to see in one of the next episodes of The Kevin Show. But of course, this is definitely the information that we at least know now, and we kind of have a sense and we can kind of predict where the trajectory is currently headed. But of course, all the official information, that stuff, we really just have to stay tuned. So with that being said, hopefully that's really just what I wanted to cover in today's update. So if you guys made it all the way to the end, maybe remember to smash the like button if you guys haven't done so. Consider subscribing and hitting the bell. Feel free to leave a comment if you guys made it to the end, whether this is about what the housing market's like in your particular situation, or any suggestions, room for improvements, or anything like that. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, stay safe, stay well, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much for watching.